Welcome to the Super R-CADE Show.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Time for this week's Super R-CADE Show! Hello, everybody. Welcome in to episode 4 of season 4 of the Super R-CADE Show 2021. And this week, I am joined not by Nadia, not by Lewis, but this time it's back to the man with the plan, the one, the only, Sam. Hello, Sam. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling fortuitous. I'm feeling.
I brought the energy this time.
I'm feeling 400%.
400%. That's good. Yeah. That's good.
You missed where I said fortuitous and fortunate as well.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I spoke over.
Because it's episode 4.
Oh, right. Okay.
Of season 4.
Of season 4. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And we're the 4 horsemen, joined by our 3rd horseman this week.
Yes. The one, the only. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined. It's okay. We're joined every week by a special guest, of course, on the Super R-CADE Show now. Just a quick shout out to the fantastic Akira Direwolf from last week. Go check her out if you can. And if you missed the show, you can catch it on our YouTube channel or on Spotify for your ears only, of course. But this week, we have the pleasure of being joined by the one, the only, the Jez Show. It's Jez from the Jez Show. Hello, Jez. How are you?
Hello. How's it going?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Is it 4? Are we just? Is this the?
Well, this is
a wrestling thing.
This is a wrestling thing.
Yeah, I assume so.
The 4 horsemen. The 4th horseman this week is you, the viewer.
I wonder how you're going to make that one work. There's only 3 of us. Well done.
Audience participation.
That's good work. I see what you did.
Thank you. It's only downhill from here. Welcome, Jez, to the R-CADE Show. The show named after us and not named after you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, yeah. I do feel like if you've already peaked at the top of the show, then I can not really add very much to the proceedings. So should we just call it there, or
we'll just call it there? This will be the shortest show ever. We'll hold the record. Yeah.
Oh, we wouldn't be. We have to introduce you to lots of weird things.
I've prepared a lot for today's show. I worked my butt off, and we're not stopping it there. Sorry, Jez, but we're gonna have to keep going. You guys in chat, you get to watch it go downhill. And if anything, Car Crash TV is the best type of television. Are we on a TV? I don't know. Do people watch TV anymore? I don't think that's a thing.
People use TVs to watch other things.
They do. Anyway, we'll start the show off as we always do by checking in with everyone and seeing how they've been, what they've been up to, and the question I always ask: what games have you been playing this week? Which is a loaded question, considering Sam's been a very busy man with some new life stuff. So let's kick off with Sam. Sam, how are you? How are you, my friend?
No games, Andrew.
No just get it from the start. No games.
I haven't played a single game. I thought about playing FIFA or NBA, and then I didn't because I couldn't be bothered. Which shows how I've been this week. Very good. Started new uni course, multimedia journalism with Glasgow Caledonian University. Today was day 3. It's a 5-day week, 39 hours a week, but 3 days in, 2 days at home. So Today was the first of 2 days at home, and then I have a weekend which I get to spend with all the lovely R-CADE people because I'll be in R-CADE. Yeah. And then I'm back at it on Monday. And in between time, I have to write 3 articles for a magazine that I have been complaining about for weeks. So I've got that going on as well. So very busy learning shorthand. That sucks.
That's yeah.
And although as I was talking about earlier, what I was really excited about getting to do, we were given the iPhone kits, which is essentially a roaming microphone setup. And we were told to just go out and get what they call vox pops. So you'll hear all those on news reports generally where it's sort of like public interest story and you just get these little 5-second clips of random punters saying stuff.
Yeah.
So we were told, they'll just go out onto university campus or wherever you want. You've got 45 minutes, come back with we need you to get enough that we can make 3 little clips out of it. And so everyone was like, oh, so we just do it on campus? And he was like, yeah, on campus, or like if you want to go out. I was like, so we can go and talk to the general public? And he was like, yeah. And so I sprinted to Buchanan bus station and just started asking random people what they thought about the fuel shortages. The first guy I asked said, I just got to the UK today. And I went, well, welcome, and then ran away. And then I had one guy who was like, can I ask you about a news-related thing? And he said, absolutely, son, what would you like to ask? I said, what do you think about the rumoured fuel shortage? And he just said, no. I was like, is that your thoughts or your opinion? No. I was, thank you, okay. But I got quite a lot out of it. And I came back, and everyone was already sat in the classroom. And I was like, am I late? And he was like, no. And I realised that's because everyone else had just gone downstairs and interviewed each other or whatever students walked past. Whether his eyes was on Sauchiehall Hall Street.
I
Some
think,
people were like, what newspaper is this for? And I was like, Glasgow Caledonian Uni.
I think, like you were telling me before the show, the amount of effort you put in clearly overwhelming compared to the rest of the people in your class.
No, that's absolutely not fair. It's just week one. It's week one, and I've already realised that more than I ever realised that my not enthusiasm, my desire to feel enthusiastic and my confidence in asking questions now and acknowledging when you don't know something, which is way higher in smaller classes. Like with my last course, it was 80 people on the course. Now it's 12. It's like 15 people. I'm way more likely to be like, I don't understand this thing if it's in front of 15 people and not 80. But that does come across to everyone in the class that I'm like a mature student. They all think I'm like 28 plus type thing, which I know. But for university people are like, oh, that means you're really wise to the world. And I'm like, what? So yeah.
Nice.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, my first person rejected me. NJ Hammerstone, for those of you listening back in audio format, saying that Vox Pops are the worst. I loved it. Big fun getting to talk to the general public. But I'm not the guest this week, and I could ramble for a very long time.
See, when I was in university, I didn't get to do Vox Pops. I was just sent out to record ambience and background music, which is not as interactive or anywhere near as fun. So count yourself lucky that you got to be fobbed off by the general public. I just got fobbed off by the weather.
So what was your degree? Why were you recording things out in the world?
My degree was broadcast media and popular culture. Yeah.
Ooh.
Which had a lot less broadcast media than was advertised, I will say.
How was it on popular culture?
Heavy. Extremely heavy. And very focused on such concepts as feminism and postmodernism and generally things that aren't helping me create media or learn to edit or anything that I thought I was going there to do. So fun times.
Do you always read the label?
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, always read the small print when starting a university course. Jez, how are you? How has your week been? What have you been up to? I know you could probably talk a bit farther than the week since I haven't talked to you in a week.
In a while.
But how are you? What have you been up to this week? What's happening in the world of Jez?
I'm good. Trying to get past this weird period of history we're in where people panic buy things and you can't do your regular life anymore. But focusing in on community and enjoying the games. I've played more games this week than I've played in a few months actually.
So we balance each other out. It's good.
Good. It's good. What have you been playing?
I kicked off the week going back to Horizon Zero Dawn and playing the Frozen Wilds expansion pack. That was a lot of fun. I planned on playing GTA 3 yesterday, but unfortunately my computer said no, and that didn't happen. And so I played Spyro the Dragonfly instead. I've still got it lying around.
Fantastic.
The Dragonfly
Reignited
nice
trilogy.
Nice. That was a very good trilogy actually, and brought back in beautiful detail for the PlayStation 4. Horizon's something I've been looking to go back to again. I'm kind of holding off. I'm getting through God of War for the first time right now, in anticipation of obviously Ragnarok coming out next year. But I only finished Horizon Zero Dawn earlier this year, so I've still got the Frozen Wilds to do, of course, in preparation for the second one coming out next year as well. At the same time, we're going to be hit with God of War and Horizon at the same time in I think January, which is going to be huge for PlayStation. But we'll talk about that later. Awesome, fantastic, good to hear. Sam, you seem to have melted a little there. Are you okay?
Yeah, I talked earlier. I ate dairy, and I've decided that I know I keep doing this where I'm like, oh, I think I am, and then I just don't do anything about it and give up. But the fact that I eat dairy-filled things and then go, oh, I don't feel motivated to do anything, leads me to this situation. Also, I've been sitting at this desk all day, man.
That's fair.
Occasionally sitting forward hunched is not good, but leaning back like I'm like, because I've broken this chair, leaning back like this is much better.
Well,
plus you can see the pop vitals better that way.
You can see your beautiful display at the back much better. So thank you for that. Let's kick into some gaming news for this week. Catching up with what's going on around the world. So here we go. So our first headline of the week is actually going to be going back 7 days. Last week's show was, as usual, at about 7 p.m. But Nintendo decided to do their direct for some reason at 11 p.m. UK time, which was insanely late. Normally it's a little bit earlier than that, at least from memory. But Nintendo Direct came up, and I'm just going to briefly swipe over the headlines of the stuff that was announced. We've got Monster Hunter Rise expansion 2, I believe. I think Ice Break is the first one. Sunbreak is going to be the second one. We got a glimpse at a new 3D Kirby game called Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is still in development, but that looks fantastic. They announced that they're going to do a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate update separately, which is going to happen on October 5th. Animal Crossing is also going to get its own Nintendo Direct update as well later in October. They then revealed the Switch Online expansion with the addition of N64 and Mega Drive games, or Genesis, depending on where you are. And then off the back of that, some new peripherals, some new controllers. So you're getting a wireless N64 controller and a wireless Mega Drive / Genesis controller as well. There was, of course, the the divisive announcement of the Mario movie voice cast, which was a shock to the system, to say the least. And then they sort of finished off finally with a little Splatoon 3 trailer, teaser, and a lot on Bayonetta 3, which everybody's been looking forward to as well. I don't want to go too deep into it. It was a week ago. I think a lot of people have had time to absorb it, but I just want to see, out of everything that was announced, what was the highlight for you guys? What did you feel like was the one thing that stood out, if anything, from the Nintendo Direct?
I really dig the controllers for the N64 and the Mega Drive, and the kind of backwards compatibility that comes with that. I'm a big fan of retro stuff, so any new generation option to go back and do that kind of stuff while feeling like I am playing the old tech, it's beautiful to me. Yeah.
Nice. Sam, did you catch it?
No, absolutely not, Andrew. Why would I? What's my job? Where do I work?
Video games, journalism. We work in a retro video game arcade. Yeah.
Why would I watch?
Why would you watch?
That's
I don't know.
That's new. Idiot. No, the controllers is the biggest thing for me. I think that's the thing I've seen the most discussion about. But we are going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. So I'll talk about the actual biggest, most important thing that has truly broken the zeitgeist and pierced through the mold that is the gaming nerdosphere. That's a lot of fake words there. But the Mario movie voice cast, literally, I think a lot of people will have seen that now because it's a movie thing, it's a Mario thing. Actual niche gaming stuff doesn't peripherate the outside. That was another fake word.
That was a good one.
Thank you, peripherate. Like the general pop culture in this. But movies do. Mario does, and Chris Pratt does. So I think that they've got, as much as people are annoyed, I'm interested to see how he does, and not just because I used to look like him. So
fair. I mean, highlight for me was, I think actually Kirby was a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting it. I've not had a good Kirby 3D game forever. And so that was a lovely little surprise for me, and I love a good Kirby game. I don't feel like they shine enough light onto Kirby as a character, and I'm looking forward to that. Aside from that, it wasn't my favorite part of the show, but the voice casting for the Super Mario movie was shocking, to say the least. And yeah, I think just for those of you who missed it, I don't know how, Mario is going to be voiced by Chris Pratt. Luigi is going to be Charlie Day.
That's two great comedic universes smashing together.
Yeah, but yeah. Bowser is going to be, is it Jack Black? Is going to be Bowser?
Jack.
Is that right? Donkey Kong's going to be Seth Rogen. What the heck?
Amazing.
Toad is going to be Michael. God,
Keaton. Michael
Key and
Keaton.
Peele. No, Michael Keaton. Key and Peele. Key from Key and Peele. And there was various other castings there. But it was shocking to say the least. And
I think
I want to
just realised it
surprised.
there.
Yeah.
What percentage of Seth Rogen's casting do you think is based purely on his laugh? Like, not all of the things he's ever been cast in, but the fact that he is Donkey Kong. How much of that casting choice is based on the fact that you get to hear Donkey Kong go?
Yeah.
Well, that's Jimmy Carr. You're doing
That was Jimmy Carr. I said sorry.
That was Jimmy Carr if he had a deep voice.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Apologies.
For me, the voice cast isn't really the problem. The main problem is that they think live action Mario is a good idea now. They thought it was a good idea in the 90s, and yeah.
I mean, it's being taken care of by is it Illumination? So the same company that gave us Despicable Me and the Minions. So
I would have stopped at Despicable Me.
Yeah, I know. I just want to remind people that the Minions are a thing, like they've forgotten every single time a Sky TV advert comes up. And it came up on the radio the other day, and I was like, really? Again? But yeah, apart from that, the controllers, like you guys mentioned, was another highlight. There was some new images that came off the back of the show. I think it was a few days later. It was revealed on Twitter that there were some high-res images that came up of the N64 controller and the Mega Drive controller. And they revealed some extra buttons.
Are these images or are these renders?
These are renders. These are supposedly the actual controllers themselves. So the N64 controller has USB-C charging, by those things. It has a little ZR button at the top. What? How? If you're holding, are you supposed to reach around to get? Because I don't know. Last time I had an N64 controller in my hands, the R button and the L button are enough. I don't really reach around there to get to that. So the ZR button's a bit of a strange placement. And there's a home button and what I can only assume, there's a synchronized button. And is that the screenshot button off to the top left as well, I believe, if I know my Nintendo Switch quite well. There's no pictures of the reverse of the controller. So we don't know whether or not the sort of socket on the back where you usually put a rumble pack or a memory.
That's not where you put a rumble pack, Andrew.
What? Well, in the original N64 controller, it was, yes.
Well, yeah, but now Rumble Pack is live 7 p.m. on a Wednesday at twitch.tv/arcadeglass.
Very nice plug. Very nice. Very nice.
If you don't know what that is, check next Wednesday 7 p.m. at twitch.tv/arcadeglass.
Nice.
Thanks.
Sorry, where was that? I didn't catch it.
Twitch.tv/the Jez Show.
Yeah. There you go. No, when is your wrestling show actually? We'll get to that later. Don't worry. Oops, I didn't mean to go that far. The Mega Drive controller, interestingly, just looks the normal Mega Drive controller with a mode button on the top. Strangely, though, the Japan release of these controllers, they are getting the 6-button controller that we never really see over here in the UK in the PAL release. So I think, if anything, that will just come down to the games list that's released. In the sort of digital expansion pack, but we're yet to see what those games are going to be exactly. My question for you basically is, sorry, Sam, what were you going to say?
No, what is the purpose behind the 6 buttons? Why
6 buttons
Japan
usually
get it and we don't?
Usually fighting games actually more than anything would make use of the additional 3 buttons on the controller. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, etc. They do make use of the 6-button controller. Mortal Kombat specifically, actually, because you have high, mid, low kicks and punches, and so yeah, that's usually the use of a 6-button. I know a lot of people who got, say, the Mini or the Mega Drive Classic when it was released a couple of years ago, forked out extra money to be able to get a 6-button controller. I was one of them. I actually bought the third-party USB wired 6-button controller for the Mega Drive specifically because of some of the games I wanted to put onto the console itself. So we'll see what happens with the game release. But yeah, my question for you guys was: these are going to be priced at $39.99 in the UK. Is that too much for a controller, a controller that has a specific function? Just for that, Jez, you mentioned that there would be backwards compatibility with some other things, but is that too much for that sort of nostalgia? Do you believe? I don't know.
I don't think so. No, not when you consider the price of modern controllers. I doubt they're just going to limit you using these to play the kind of Mega Drive and N64 games. You'll probably just have a Bluetooth controller that you can use for anything. So yeah, no, I think 40's fair. The average. What's a PlayStation controller nowadays? Like 50, 60?
60 quid. I think 59.99 is the RRP on a DualSense, for example, and the Xbox Series controllers are a little cheaper. I think at 49.99, I believe. So yeah, I mean, with the going prices, I guess, but you're not really going to get the functionality, I feel, out of this. You're paying for the nostalgia more than anything. But yeah, Sam, your thoughts on
how much is DDR mat?
Are you just looking at the one?
No. How much is DDR mat? How much is a Rock Band Guitar Hero guitar? Set of drums? Like, how much is a Sega bass fishing rod? This is, as Jez says, this is probably not going to be defined by what games you can play, rather what games you can't. Like, there should be a wide range related to this, whereas all the things I just mentioned are very specific to their one particular game or maybe a handful of games, and those cost way more. And people have never complained about that because it is a unique selling point. The complaint, if you're going to complain about these being too expensive, is that controllers in general would be too expensive at that point. Yeah, if that's the thinking.
That's fair. I feel like the nostalgia pool is huge with this as well. So people will glance over the 40 quid and be quite happy to fork that over for it. Just because I think the demand, or at least my feeling from the general public, was that an N64 classic, like a mini version of the N64, was highly sought after by a lot of people. And so this is probably the next best thing. It's Nintendo playing to basically what the people want. So I'm not going to pick one up. I'm not a fan of this controller. I only have two hands personally. But yeah. Okay, there's some.
That phrase is giving me, like, making me lose the will to live. We were talking about this in the shop at the weekend. Like, that gets set. Like, we say it all the time. The general public says it all the time. Stop saying that to me. I'm done with it. Oh, you don't have three hands. Cool. No, we all know now.
Jez, do you own a Switch? Are you going to be buying one?
I don't own a Switch. I'm more interested in the Mega Drive controller myself.
Really? Okay.
Especially if I can get a 6-button version, because I do have fond memories of, as you mentioned, playing Mortal Kombat on third-party 6-button controllers back in the day. So yeah, that's the nostalgia that's going to get me, I think.
Nice.
Good answer.
Well, moving on to our next story. The Last of Us. Have either of you played The Last of Us at all? Either of the games? There's obviously two of them.
Yes,
I'm a nod from
in
Jez.
Progress on the first one.
Oh, really?
Going back to it on Monday, actually.
Nice. Sam, have you?
Oh, I don't like video games.
I don't know why I ask, but
it's gonna get progressively worse now. I've decided week on week.
Well, Neil Druckmann, I always say Druckmann, I don't know why. Neil Druckmann, who is the one of the top heads at Naughty Dog, has tweeted out an image from the new TV show that's going to be coming out of The Last of Us. So the TV show is being produced by HBO and Sony in a joint agreement. It's being filmed in Canada, I do believe, and the picture shows Pedro Pascal, who everyone will know from Mandalorian, as well as Game of Thrones, alongside Bella Ramsey, also from Game of Thrones, as well as, I didn't notice this, but the Worst Witch. I didn't know that she was in the Worst Witch, but when I was researching it, I was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, a lot of people are looking forward to this. I forgot that it was going to be happening, honestly. I haven't played the second Last of Us game, though, so I think it's not in my current sort of thoughts.
Review.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Sam, I don't think you'll have much to say on this, but Jez, are you looking forward to the show? Possibly?
I have a lot to say on this.
Oh, do you have a lot to say on this, Sam?
Andrew, I just gave you a really long-winded explanation as to why those controllers are worth the $39.99. You think I can't make up some junk about this?
You made up a lot of words so far, so yeah.
Well, there you go. The Last of Us is actually, it's a critically acclaimed game series. So there's quite a lot to live up to when it comes to the storyline elements of this and how you're presenting it to the audience. There's a lot that they're going to be expecting from it. To new fans, they won't care as much. You just need to make sure that it's engaging. And from everything you've heard from those that have played the games, that is the least of what you can say. It's the game story that gets it over the line as opposed to the gameplay for some people. That and the art direction, which so far from the image you're about to show us, I think this show has got right. The one thing I will say, and this is not my opinion whatsoever, but we've already had some people in our chat talking about this. There are going to be people who are going to complain about this, as there are going to be people that complain about any sort of IP getting turned into a different format than what it originally was. So, but from this photo, I genuinely thought this was a screen grab from the game, which is a big compliment to the game, that the art style is so good that I got tricked into thinking that this actual photograph was CG, was graphically enhanced. So I think it'll, who's to say if it'll be good? There's no trailers or anything, but the costuming and the set design looks good.
I feel like it's going to draw parallels with probably The Walking Dead, just because of the sort of landscape, the feeling of the game, and they have the potential to make it different, but I think it's gonna. Sam with the
it won't draw comparisons to the hit series Z Nation, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
I just want to name other zombie shows.
That's fine.
Walking Dead's had it too good for too long.
They did. That's coming to an end soon, I think, as well. I've stopped watching ages ago, so I don't know where it's at. Jez, your thoughts on the Last of Us TV show?
Yeah, I think it has the potential of being something really good. Like you said, the story kind of aspect of the game is what makes it, especially for me. And there's not a whole lot of work that they need to do to take what is already existing in the game, especially in terms of like the storyboard and the teleplay, and just transport that over to a TV show, and it kind of makes itself. My only concern is, are they going to make the I've forgotten what they're called now, the spores? The bad guys, the zombies. But I managed to trigger my chat calling them zombies while I'm playing the game, so I try not to do that. Whether they do them justice. They're very graphic in the game. They're super creepy. Can they pull that off with costume work and CGI, or will they kind of look cartoonish and ruin the experience and take you out of that world?
I mean,
have you guys seen A Quiet Place?
Not yet, no, actually.
No.
I've been dying to see it. The second one has just come out as well recently, hasn't it? So
zero interest in it, in all honesty. But
really,
whenever I see the trailer, I always think the CG looks not terrible. It's a split-second thing.
Yeah,
but the CG for the monster doesn't look awful. So
it's John Krasinski, isn't it? He's the one that was responsible.
He's
for
the one that gets CG'd in. Yeah.
His obviously his other half, Emily Blunt, I think, isn't it? Is the other main cast in the film. Something I've been wanting to see. Michelle and I are definitely interested in checking it out, but we haven't had a chance to get onto it yet, unfortunately.
Just in terms of, I hadn't looked at the spores, and now looking at them, that's going to be incredibly difficult to do with traditional makeup and things like that.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, in terms as far as zombies go, I think a lot of people do give The Walking Dead credit for their art like their makeup and art. Don't quotation me, because you didn't let me finish where I was going. No, but I'm talking about the actual zombies, the actual fake zombies from The Walking Dead. People really like the makeup department for them because it makes them look not awful. And so I was trying to think, is there any, but this is a totally different league that you'd have to do if you were doing this with traditional art. CG's got to be the way to go, surely. It's just whether or not HBO is willing to put the money behind it, as Andrew freaks out over his 3D printing.
Yeah. I mean, HBO have come to the end of various other television projects, so they need something to throw their money and effort behind. So they have the capacity to do something good. Whether they do or not is another thing.
Yeah, since Game of Thrones, there's not really been anything in the scale that they would usually do. So yeah, they've definitely got the manpower to get in there.
Just like He-Man, they have the power.
Nice. So we'll keep an eye on it. I don't know who the special effects director is. So that would be something interesting to hopefully get an eye on. I'll do some more research into that and look into that more in the future.
I can confirm for you, by the way, before you do move on, that it is actually filmed in Alberta, Canada. Because as soon as you sent this over to me earlier in the week, I saw that plane crash site and immediately got a little bit excited because it looks like an existing plane crash site in Wales, just up from where I grew up. Yeah. I'm like, oh my god, are they filming it in Wales? So I googled it and was disappointed to find it was Alberta, Canada.
Canada's going to be so annoyed that you're disappointed with them. Yeah, I mean, if it's the games themselves are set in Texas, I think, if I remember correctly. And so they're filming in Canada and Alberta, and they've made it look like Texas, I believe.
Lots of parallels between Alberta and Texas.
Totally, they're one and the same in essence.
Well,
to me. Yeah.
They actually, you both say that. Calgary is known as the Texas of Canada. Quite literally, there's a lot of Raj hands there. There's a famous photograph of Bret the Hitman Hart standing over a lake in the Canadian tuxedo, double denim, which is used as like a very cowboy-esque shot.
True, yeah.
So you make statements, but Alberta is the Texas of Canada.
Okay.
So nah.
Maybe swiftly on from my terrible research. Sony, still speaking of Sony, actually, the one thing I forgot to mention is just quickly off the back of The Last of Us, Sony are also producing 3 films and 7 television series at the same time. And the other big announcement they made coming into this year was obviously Uncharted, the film starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. Oh, it pains me. That is probably as bad as the Mario movie, to be honest, in terms of casting for me. But yeah, I'm still not happy about that. That's not going to win me.
What's your problem, man? That's the end of my set. What's your problem?
Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg are both too young to be playing Nate and Sully. That is my problem. But we'll see what they do. It depends what they do with the story. They might do something interesting. So I'm still a flicker of hope. But we will see.
Depends how long it takes them to make the films, I guess.
This is true. This is very true.
If they take 20 years, then your problem is moot.
I mean, Tom Holland's always going to look like a small child.
That's true. Yeah.
We're going to film it like... What's the movie? Was it a Boy Life? What was the movie where they filmed over like 30 years?
A Bug's Life? No. You're going to research that because I can't remember.
Yeah. I was going to say about a boy, but that's
about different. A boy. I was going to say for that.
Oh, it's called Nicholas Boyhood. It's called Boyhood.
Okay,
not Boys Inda, but Boyhood.
Thanks for that tangent, Sam. Anyway, speaking of Sony and what they've been up to, there's some rumors floating about now that Sony are going to be adding PlayStation 5 games to their PlayStation Now streaming service. So an interesting one. I just picked this one up today and had a wee read through what was going on. PlayStation Now reduced its monthly subscription charge back in November 2019. And over the last 2 years, they've managed to triple their subscriber count to an estimated 3.2 million active subscribers, which is great, good for them, but it still doesn't offer any of the current generation games through PlayStation Now, which you can actually get through if you're an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. You can get access to basically actually release for a lot of games. They get added to the service and you've got instant access to them. They also, Xbox, have their cloud-based streaming service as well, where you can stream to a mobile device or to a PC. which is they're now testing that service through consoles as well. I got the email as an Xbox insider to test streaming Xbox Series games, or the best versions of those games, live on the console without having to download anything. And Xbox are looking to actually pull that into the Xbox One ecosystem as well. So if you even have an Xbox from previous generation, you'll be able to stream and play the newest games at the best possible quality, which is insane. Xbox has literally just notified me on my phone that these are the new games that have been added. Thanks. Avengers is available to play. Good. Thank you, Xbox Game Pass. It's like they heard me. But I just wanted to see what was your thoughts, guys, on streaming services as a whole in terms of video games. What's your experience with them, and do you think they are a good idea?
I'm a PlayStation Now user. I use that quite a lot, but the streaming aspect of it is terrible. It's an absolute waste of time. So I'm all for all of these games being available on a subscription kind of deal. I'm totally fine with that. But give us the option to download the entire game to the console so that I'm not having to wait in the middle of a cutscene for part of the game to stream over to me. That's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I would agree. I've tested I've not tested the PS Now system recently, but I think it was probably February was the last time I used it. And it wasn't a great experience. I've actually had a better experience with Xbox and Game Pass Ultimate with streaming games. I don't tend to do the big AAA titles, but a little indie game, say like Celeste or something that doesn't require even like a quick inputs. I think I've played Forza Horizon 4 on my Samsung Galaxy using an Xbox controller, and it was fine. It wasn't that bad. But then I was in the house with a super fast broadband connection, and a lot of people don't have that access to that. So I think personally for me, it's a bit too early still for a video game streaming service. But the future's looking good, to be honest. Sam, what have you played any streaming games?
I don't like streaming services. No, I've not. I didn't even particularly like using online stores for games. I would much rather buy the disc. Until as part of work, I got PlayStation Plus, and then since then got Xbox Game Pass. Both of which I've cancelled Games Pass. I still have Plus, but I should cancel Plus because I just don't use either of them particularly. I personally definitely wouldn't use them if it wasn't for making content for the R-CADE Patreon. Right. So it's like I'm not the demographic for this. And if you are the demographic for this, then you kind of need to have really good internet, as both of you guys were saying. That was what a lot of analysts were saying 3 years ago when this stuff was being floated around, that it would just not be a viable option unless you had super fast broadband, which 1% of those that play games have at the best, like a genuinely good enough connection. The alternative is to do what games have been doing for hundreds of years, and to start hiding the load times in doorways, etc. But if you do it like that, if we go back to the zombies for a second, if you think about a game like Dead Rising 2, if you go to certain sections of the map in there, that is a huge amount graphically for the game to continuously stream to you without you going through a doorway at any point, so that it can load the next section in. So it just doesn't seem viable unless you have this ridiculous internet connection. And even then, just download the game. It's not that. Most of these services have that built-in option as well. So unless they're made distinct, it's not.
I think one thing to take into consideration is the games are getting bigger, though. That's the issue, I think, because they're trying to find this medium between, okay, download the game, but Call of Duty is like 130 gigabytes. Microsoft Flight Simulator is 110 or something like that, if I remember rightly from last time I installed it. They are massive downloads. And if you don't have the internet, then, there's going to be a base level of internet that you can use these services with, and some people will be happy with that compared to waiting a day for downloading a game, for example. But it's the evolution. We'll see how it goes over the next few years. But I think they're moving in the right direction. But it all comes down to everything tying in together at the same time. That broadband infrastructure catching up and everyone being able to access that. But like you said, Sam, 1% of the consumer base is it's not good yet.
Can I give you some very quick general streaming news? People in Kenya will now be able to get Netflix for free.
Really?
Yeah, everyone in Kenya can now get free Netflix, but only on their phones. This is a new strategy from Netflix to try and entice people of Kenya to spend money buying the other versions of Netflix, essentially, so that it's not exclusive to their phone. Probably won't work. Like, they've already got a problem with people not buying their own account and just sharing a bunch of accounts
with other people.
They don't have. They're spending more money than they can make through advertisement and sales of so. But I just thought I'd mention that because it's been a recent. Like within the last 7 days, and while we're talking about streaming and games, I thought I'd say Kenyans have a better Netflix than us now.
Well, I better check that my VPN has got Kenya as a listed option.
Only on your phone.
I'm gonna test that out later. Thank you, Sam. Magic. Move on to the last story of the day of the week. It came out actually just I think today. In fact, the actor Christopher Judge, who everyone will know. Well, I don't know actually. What do you guys? I know Christopher Judge originally from Stargate, SG-1. That's where I originally saw him when I was a bit younger. God, what was SG-1? Like early 2000s, wasn't it? If I remember right, or was it 90s?
Yeah, late 90s over to the mid 2000s. Yeah,
97 to 2007.
There you go.
I haven't googled Christopher Judge.
You just know Stargate SG-1 so well.
I just know it really well.
Christopher Judge, of course, who played Teal'c on Stargate SG-1. More recently, 2018, he did the voice for Kratos in the 2018 reboot or new storyline for God of War. He's come out on Twitter today, actually, to say that... And this was off his own back. He didn't. He wasn't prompted by anybody. Nobody asked him to do this. It wasn't like a question from somebody else on Twitter. He just came out and said, "I am the reason that Ragnarok has been delayed into 2022 because he's had major surgery on his back, his hips, and his knees." And his rehabilitation and his rehab basically has caused the delay for God of War Ragnarok. He said that the studio were completely supportive of him in his recovery. They didn't pressure him in any way to come back to work and get the recordings done. They let him take his time, and that was fantastic of them. But Sony Santa Monica, when they announced the delay back in June this year, they got a lot of backlash on the internet. Namely, the one of the developers and writers, Alana Pierce, she received a lot of vicious comments and DMs on Twitter from some horrible people. And then Corey Barlog, who's the creative director at Sony Santa Monica, then came out and said, "Stop it, leave her alone. If you're gonna be angry, if you're gonna, have all this hate, then project it onto me instead. I will take it. I'm the creative director. Don't be going after the staff. They're doing a fantastic job."
Well, a double reason to point that out, Andy. Alana Pierce, former member of Funhouse, member of Funhouse until midway through this year. So she's only been working with God of War since maybe like March or April.
Yep.
But she's also probably one of the most public-facing members of that team now.
It's true.
Because of her time through IGN and with Funhouse and through her own YouTube channel. She's probably one of the people that the general public has the most access to, and she's not been quiet about the fact that this is her new job because she's been really excited about it. So
no, that's fair.
It's a lot of people wanting to tear somebody down, and their best option to do that with is the most front-facing person. Not fair. I'm just giving the justification as to why she's the person that's been targeted here.
Yeah. So, I mean, my question to you guys, I mean, could Sony Santa Monica have handled it a bit differently? Could they have like spoken to Christopher Judge and said, "Yeah, are you okay with us coming out and saying that this is the reason why the game was," or were they right to say, "Okay, give me space, let him do his recovery, and he can say it when he is ready. We're not going to pressure him into saying it. We'll take the hit. We'll take the abuse on us as a company." I mean, what would you guys have done if you were in that situation? Do you think that was they handled it the right way? Basically, is the question.
I think it's a difficult situation regardless. We're in a point of history now where people get so impatient about things that, as much as we care about them, really don't matter. And I think as consumers, we all just need to step back and not get so flustered when things are delayed. Yeah. Like, we've waited from the beginning of time until now for this thing to exist. What difference does a few months or even years make? Yeah. The other alternative was to release the game entirely without Christopher Judge's voice, and there would have been a whole lot more complaints there. So there really was no alternative, I don't think. That's true.
Do your own Kratos at home. We won't put any voice actor in, just the subtitles. You do it.
And you have to pay a subscription in order for that right.
They're not EA. Let's not let's not go down this route.
I think aside from asking him if he would approve them making that announcement, they can, and even in that instance, that is even just broaching that question is kind of pressuring someone to exposing their own medical history to the general public.
Yeah.
General public shouldn't need any sort of explanation as to why something's been delayed if it's for this reason. But at the same time, I mean, corporations don't owe us anything. But at the same time, corporations get given a lot of money by a lot of people. And so there is a certain element of, if they've promised something for a certain time, there's the expectation that, well, I've already invested this time, money, and energy that I'm going to be buying that thing. So I hope that it would come out, you would stick by those promises. I think that's why a lot of people do get upset, because they get promised something. Maybe they go over the top with it in their head when it comes to things like, I've forgotten, No Man's Sky. But at the same time, there are some times where you get promised things and the preceding work makes that promise. The last God of War was so well received that I think a lot of people have already said, well, I'm buying this game. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm excited for this game. At the same time, though, I would think most people, including myself and most of the people I know, would just go, oh, this thing I'm really excited about isn't going to happen for another 6 months. Oh, that sucks. I was really excited for it, but it'll come out when it comes out. This isn't my entire personality and life worth. I can go and do other things. I enjoy other stuff. So, you know, it's they could not have done more. They said it is going to be delayed. We are sorry. Yeah. There's not much more you can do.
There's not much more they can say in that situation. Exactly.
I think people need to learn the lessons of Cyberpunk 2077 and realize what happens if you do keep pressuring a company to bring something out before they are fully ready to do so. You won't get the thing you want.
I think hats off to Cory Barlog, the creative director, for handling it as best that he could in the situation. Obviously, trying to pull all of the vicious comments away from Alana, and also not pressuring Chris Judge to say something either. So hats off to Cory. I think he handled it well.
Adding to this, shout out to Alana for not even being in the States with the rest of the writing team for most of this.
She's Australian, isn't she?
Well, no, she's lived in Los Angeles for years, but she went back to Australia and on the return to the US got stuck in Nicaragua. So she's barely been in the US in the time that she's been working for the studio. So
insane. Absolutely insane. Perfect. That brings us to the end of this week's gaming news. Let's move on to our next section, which is is it this? It's this. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the arcade product of the week. Each week we take a little bit of time to ourselves to promote our own online store, because it's our show. We can do what we want. So this week I'm featuring a wonderful product. We've been talking actually quite a lot about the Nintendo Gamecube over the last few weeks, namely because it was the anniversary of its release in Japan. It was my favorite console of all time, I think, actually. I think it has the best games list. I think it has one of the most fantastic controllers ever designed. And it's bloody cute. So this week, we've got the Nintendo GameCube Silver. It is boxed. It has the original power supply and AV cable and an original silver controller. It is on sale actually from $94.99 down to $79.99. It's gorgeous. It's in really good condition as well. I wanted to keep this for my own collection, but I was like, no, I have enough GameCubes. Let's let someone else enjoy this one instead. But yeah, guys, what would be your GameCube game that you would recommend to someone who's never played a GameCube before? If you were to buy this and you only had money for one game, what would it be?
I'd like to very quickly say hello to Duff Valley in the chat. And if you're listening back to this in audio only on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you can check us out live every Thursday at 7 p.m. on twitch.tv/Arcade Glasgow. Now, to answer your question, Andrew, I'd say Jojo's Bizarre Adventure.
Really?
Now, the only reason I'm saying that is I did not have a GameCube growing up. I did not know a GameCube existed until I started working at R-CADE, and it's now my favorite console. That being said, I also haven't played that many games on it. But this past weekend, we were playing around with it, seeing what was on. A couple of guys were asking for some different fighting games, and I discovered that we had a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game, and I pitched it to them, and they went, love JoJo, let's give it a go-go. And it turns out to be just your standard fighting game featuring JoJo's Bizarre Adventure characters. So not necessarily a game that I'd recommend, not a series I'd recommend. Can't vouch for either. Really cool that it exists though. You can try it on this. Pretty sure there's a Shaman King game for it as well.
There is.
So if that's the case, I pick that.
Of course. Jez, what would your recommendation be if you were to only have one GameCube game?
Well, this is where I alienate a massive part of your audience and say that I wasn't a GameCube person growing up either. So I don't know a huge amount about the GameCube even now, but I seem to remember visiting my cousins and playing. I'm not sure if it was on this actually. It must have been on this. Super Monkey Ball 2. Was that a GameCube?
Yes, it was. It was indeed.
Yeah.
1 and 2 were both released on GameCube. Yeah.
Then take back everything I said. I know everything about the GameCube, and my answer is Super Monkey Ball 2.
I actually can't argue with that choice. That is a fantastic game. I was fortunate enough last night to be streaming the new Super Monkey Ball game, which is called Banana Mania, which Sega are releasing next week. And that is basically 1 and 2. It's the first 3 games, in essence. And so, yes, Super Monkey Ball would definitely be up there. However, my favorite GameCube game, and the one I would recommend that everyone gets, has to be Double Dash. You can't go wrong with a Mario Kart game, and Double Dash is the quintessential Mario Kart game for me. So Double Dash is the one that I would have to recommend, because it's amazing and it still stands up today, and it makes everyone hate each other because it's Mario Kart. So that's exactly what you want from a games console. But yeah, it's on our website, $94.99 down to $79.99 if you want to check it out. Just visit arcadeglasgow.com/store. Perfect, guys. Thank you very much. I don't have any of the games that you've said on the online store, so we'll just brush past that and just move on to the next piece, which is which is this, I believe. Still get triggered by that every time because that's one of my alert noises on Twitch.
I was just about to say that reminds me of when I first came across your channel and you sung to me. It was beautiful.
I do. It's really hard not to sing when it happens, but
I hate it
myself
with a burning passion and wish it would die.
Because you guys also get it when you're streaming on the main channel now as well, don't you? So.
No, all we get is Sonic screaming in my ears.
That's every time the raid comes through. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of, Sam, what's Who'd It, Where'd It, What It, Why? And
I think
and
Jez
what is
can
our...
explain.
Oh, really?
No. Who'd It, Where'd It, What It, Why is one of our little mini segments. It is a section where we find a strange collaboration between two businesses or just an odd product that exists in the wider world, and we make fun of it. Or say if we buy it or consume it. Most of the time it ends up being food-related things because, you know, food is...
universal.
Food is the great unifier. It is universal, Andrew. That is a great phrase. Yep. Do you know what else is a great unifier? Pooping. This will make sense in a second. Please show us, Andrew, this week's Who'd It, Where'd It, What It, Why.
It is this, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog limited edition curry.
This is true.
Ooh,
Released exclusively in Japan, a collaboration with the brand Geek Life, who I'm struggling to find anything about. The best I can find is a small dice business in the US called Geek Life. The package is entirely microwavable and is filled with so much blue food dye that it turns your poop blue. But according to Retro
blue
Core,
curry.
it is blue curry.
Oh yeah.
According to Retro Core, who hosted the first major video about this weird thing, his poop didn't turn blue until 2 days after he ate this stuff.
What is that pumpkin? What
can't
is that he's putting on there?
It's natto.
Oh, natto. Okay.
What is natto?
It's that.
It's beans. It's like a.
It's like it's a pulse.
Yeah.
Is that the curry?
That is
That
no.
curry
I think
paste.
that's just for the eyes, the pupils. That's all.
Oh
that
right,
is.
okay.
Uh,
That's just to add some character to this.
Duff Valley's just come in to say, oh, not to just come in, but obviously was in earlier, but has added, natto is the most disgusting food ever. Oh my god, why is he's giving me the side eye? This Sonic is not looking great.
So my question is it just curry sauce or is there like meat in this as well?
Oh lord, look at it. It's expanding.
Why is it still in the box? Take it out of the box.
Whenever you buy like a takadal or something like that, do you not just microwave it in the box as well? No,
No.
packet and box. I can't be bothered. It's like, no, okay, go. I don't. I take the packet out of the box.
Yeah. So if you've not seen this before, Jez, whatever shade of blue you're thinking of, it's worse. Whatever amount of blue you're thinking of, it is
Just
so
the
much
expression
worse.
on my face suggests that I've seen this monstrosity before. Oh my god, he's tipping it around the outside.
He's trying to make it look like Sonic.
Make it look like the serving suggestion on the back of the box.
That. Oh my god.
It's
Fair
like a
credit.
curry perm.
Is he
Camembert cheese?
Really Dunker. What
No, it's
the hell?
Camembert. It's Camembert. What
Does
are you
that come
doing?
with
Is that
it?
the ear? No, I think he's added that
He's
himself.
added that and
Make the
the
ear.
gel. I think literally all you get is maybe the blue. There's
Oh
bits
my
in the
God.
blue.
Oh lord.
What are the bits?
Oh lord.
What are the bits?
I don't know. Some kind of meat product. I would go with
A brown meat stuff.
chicken. I'm not sure, but
Oh, dear.
Sonic's expression is as worried as I would be if I had to eat this.
Oh, it's so. Oh, it looks like
Lord.
you've left a Nutri-Grain bar in the sun for too long.
So bad.
It just looks like gelatin.
It just looks like the syrup for slush puppies,
Yeah, but worse.
but so but oily.
Yeah.
It was microwaved.
Would you eat this? That would be the big question.
Oh,
Would you-
100%.
Would you?
Without hesitation. If this is on top of rice, I would eat this without any hesitation. I wouldn't add Camembert and nuts, but I would eat whatever this is.
I would do it for the content, but
Okay.
otherwise, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't make this like a regular thing. No, that wouldn't. No, not at all.
It is to get. I wonder if this will entice you more. The flavor profile is described as a creamy beef flavor.
Oh, creamy beef. Okay.
It's as if you've taken a Greg's chicken bake and steak bake and slammed them together in a bowl. Pow and pow. You get creamy beef.
I, like
I heard
how
about this-
complex you made it sound by saying flavor profile rather than just.
Did I ever tell you, Jez,
Yeah,
I wanted to go
texture.
into marketing?
I'm gonna read some of the comments actually on this YouTube video because I like doing that sometimes.
Go for it.
And they're not actually that negative this time. Well, so. One of the top comments here is: I had sushi for lunch. I had a burger for lunch. I had Sonic's blood for lunch.
He doesn't bleed blue. He clearly bleeds petrol. I don't know what you're.
That's why it's got to go fast. Another comment's just: Babe, are you okay? You barely touched your Sonic curry. Oh god. Somebody just went, Sega, please don't. And yeah, somebody's just, what's your favorite food? Sonic's head.
Now, do you know what? I was thinking maybe we buy this and maybe we try it. And then I remembered that it did actually release in 2018.
It was,
I don't think there will have been enough demand in Japan that they will have kept making it. So
I think it's going to have made it worse to be 2 years expired. I don't think you can make it worse.
I'm trying to see if I can catch the expiry date on the box while they're making it on the video.
In Japanese, just pointing
yeah,
out.
I know, but the date will still be in numbers, Sam.
Not always. You don't know months.
I don't know months. No, I can't catch it. It's there's no way I can see it on the box, unfortunately. Avoid. Very much
I'll ask you a
avoid.
question. What video game character would you like to see have their next Curry collaboration?
Okay.
Kirby comes to mind. Kirby and Pikachu come to mind just for color reasons.
Pikachu would be a nice Korma. I would take Pikachu as a Korma. That'd be good. That'd be all right. I was going to say Mario, but he would be like a vegetarian curry though, because he could be mushroom curry. You know, you see, you got to play into the.
If you make a pink curry to look like Kirby, that's just Pepto-Bismol, my friend. That's all that is.
I was going to say, it's just tubby custard, is it not? At that point.
Ooh.
I'm going to throw it back to earlier and say that I would have a spore.
No. Also mushroom flavored.
Again, as long as they could do it justice and get those textures right.
Would it still be a creamy beef flavor?
Not sure.
Not creamy, no. Crispy.
Crispy, yeah.
I want my curry to be
powdery,
extra crispy.
I was gonna say you probably breathe it in before you get there. Yeah, which is not good. Okay, can we just move on from this, put it in the bin, and get on with our lives?
I still want to finish it. You better eat
Sonic
every
curry,
damn bite.
not available at all on the internet ever. Don't go looking for it. I wouldn't advise it anyway.
It exists, but you have to bid on it. It's currently $11.95.
Is it really? Is it on eBay? Are you kidding me? Please say it's not.
It's not on eBay. It's on some sort of website. I looked at it for a second and then thought, no, I'm not entertaining this idea any longer.
Oh man, perfect. Okay, let's move on. I think it's time we do this thing. It's time for our special guest spotlight. This is the part of the show where we interrogate. No, not interrogate. We ask some lovely questions about our very special guest host. So, Jez, do you mind if I make you a little bigger on the screen? Is that okay? I always like to ask, just in case.
I wouldn't ask me. I'd ask your viewers if I were you.
I'm going to swap you up here, and then I'm going to do this. Boom. There we go. So Sam and I are no longer the focus of the show. Jez, how are you? How have you enjoyed the show so far? How are you getting on? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad now to get to the segment where I actually know the answers to the questions.
You should have known the answer to would you eat the Sonic curry?
That was an obvious one, I'll give you that.
There's only one answer to that, yeah.
Absolutely not.
Oh, I was with you for a bit.
Magical. Perfect. Jez, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Just to be blunt about it. Yeah.
I'm Jez, known as the Jez Show. I'm a Twitch streamer, mostly. I also do podcasts and various other random bits of content. And I also, for my my day job, if you can call it that, I run an online toy store that doesn't really do toys. It mostly does collectors stuff for adults, imported from Japan.
Nice. How long have you been? Oh, sorry, Sam. What were you going to say?
I was just saying you have most people's dream jobs, like
multiple.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I'm very fortunate to be able to spend my entire life around toys. I've got this screen up. Behind it is all of the, this is my storeroom. Right. So behind it is boxes of toys, and I get to play with those all day.
I feel like you should have some sort of toys on display, but if the reason you've not got a massive display is because of the toys, I understand.
It's a problem I know well. I'm in this little room of stuff, but you can't see the shelves and shelves of consoles, peripherals, and stuff around me. It's absolute madness. and I feel like it's going to all cave in and bury me at any moment. But yeah, I know. Well, how long have you had Toku Toy?
Toku Toy Store, yeah. I started it in 2015, so I'm coming up to the end of the 6th year now. Wow. My 7th anniversary will be January the 1st.
If you don't mind my asking, how long into starting the toy store was that functional as a full-time job for you, or was that immediately it made sense financially to jump straight in?
Well, I started the business with £150 and built from there. It was something that I did on the side of my real-life adult job that I had at the time, which was teaching. And it kind of grew it very, very slowly from there. Up to the point where I'd probably say it was sustainable as my day job about 2 years ago.
Right.
When I started doing conventions more regularly and having a source of selling the items that wasn't just online and me having to kind of bust my balls to bring in new customers for what is a very niche kind of market.
Right. Okay. I feel like then the awful question that no one should ever ask, but I feel like the last year might have been a bit hectic for you then, since you don't have those, as you've just said, 2 years ago was when you decided that you can make it a full-time thing because of the live event. Last year and a half not being a thing. Is that around the time when you decided you wanted to go online with the streaming as a supplemental thing, or have you been doing this for longer than that?
No, I've been... You're right. It's been a challenging year and a half with COVID. The streaming is something that kind of I wanted to do for a very long time. I've always wanted to entertain, to kind of present, do that kind of thing. The earliest job kind of dream that I had as a kid was TV presenter. And so I had a very strange kind of epiphany, or was hit in the face by an unlikely kind of source a few years ago that I wasn't doing the things that I really wanted to do in life, and I was kind of putting things in other people, and that I should just focus on what I want to do, and if that's difficult for a period of time while I get started, so be it. But if I go through life putting the things I want to do off and waiting, then they're never going to happen. And the strange thing about it is while I was teaching and doing the toy store, the major life event that made me think, no, I need to really decide what I want to do with my life and actually do it, was I massively broke my leg.
Really?
Which took me out of the real world for 6 months. Wow. And it was a real shift in my thinking that made me think, well, what do I want to do? What do I need to go and get to accomplish to do it? And last year was kind of a blessing for me. It sounds strange to say with COVID, but it gave me the opportunity to focus in on streaming and podcasting and really make a go of it. And yeah, it's going all right so far.
It's going pretty good. I mean, you say it's a bit strange to say, but I think for a lot of people, there are opposite ends of this spectrum of the last year and a half. It's put a lot of things into perspective for people, sometimes for very negative reasons, sometimes for other people it's just given them time to think without the everyday grind that they've been forced to go through. I think it's very admirable that you've been able to decide not only 6 years ago to do, well, I really enjoy this thing, so I want to put my energy into making this a secondary business, but also knowing, as you say, like a couple of years ago, that you're like, no, I want to do presenting, I want to do things that involve talking to people, to a camera, etc., and you've gone through with that. So it's very admirable. But it must be hard to decide which of your very many interests you want to focus on at any one time. Which
is why I tend not to, and I overload myself by just trying to do everything.
Yeah. I mean, you create content covering wrestling, Formula One, American football. Obviously, you have your talk shows and video games as well. Obviously, you love gaming as much. So Is there any one thing that you prefer to do? If you could only choose to do one of those things, if somebody said, right, you're doing too much, stop it, which one would you choose to continue on with? That's a tough question. Sorry,
it is a tough question, and I don't think I would be able to pick the one thing. I mean, the sports shows and the sports journalism that I've been doing, I really enjoy that. And I suppose when you look out into the real world and think who might actually employ me and pay me to do that, I suppose doing the wrestling or the effing racing show with the Formula One or my American football show 2 Minute Warning, one of those could be a viable option for somebody to around and paying me and turning that into a full-time job. So I suppose that's the real adult answer there.
Yeah.
But the thing I enjoy the most through all of this is anything that involves interactivity with my community. So I do a crosswords stream every week, where I literally just put a crossword on the screen and let the chat fill in the answers while I chat with them and banter back and forth with them. And it's things like that where I'm just chatting with people and enjoying spending time with my community is probably the thing that I get the most inner warmth out of. So if I could just do that all the time, I would be more than happy doing that.
Magic. Is there any sort of interest that you have that you don't create content for? Something you keep for yourself, perhaps?
It's really hard to do. I know a lot of people say that. Like you
naturally
content creators, you intrinsically want to talk about the things you like. So having to know to take a step back with certain things can be quite hard at times.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing that I generally enjoy that I don't make content for is television in general.
Okay.
I've been a big. It sounds strange to say I've been a big television watcher all my life, but I mean I really focus in on TV series dramatizations, and I've got a lot to say about them, but that tends to just me like Abe Simpson style shouting at the clouds instead of actually creating content with it.
Is Simpsons your go-to? Now, well, you've made the reference, so I have to assume those two thoughts are connected.
No, I do love The Simpsons. Yeah. The Simpsons is the source of all quotes for sure.
Well, yeah,
it's fair. They are they are very, very good at predicting the future as well. So
absolutely,
What's your go-to, like the show that you do like to talk about the most? Obviously not on stream necessarily, but the thing that keeps your mind the most active then?
In general, it's been the tokusatsu shows that I sell the toys for. That happens so constantly. There are so many new series coming out every year that there's always something to talk about there. There's always something to watch, and it's ever changing. So that's an easy one for me. But I suppose wrestling is the thing that I can just pick up and talk about and have this pointless encyclopedic knowledge in my head to reference back to. Those are my two kind of comfort things.
To tie those two things together, what are your thoughts on the recent Minoru Suzuki appearance on Kamen Rider?
He's been about in Kamen Rider for a very long time. He
always is the same character, or just a recurring guest?
If I'm remembering correctly, I'm pretty sure Minoru Suzuki has been in the same like evil group for quite some time. I'm pretty sure it was Minoru Suzuki.
Oh dear! I tried to sound smart, and then I've immediately been like, I clearly know nothing.
No. Well, there's more than one wrestler that's been involved in Kamen Rider. I think Minoru Suzuki was a bad guy all the way back in Kamen Rider Double in 2010. I could be wrong. I could be making it up. It could be somebody that's similar. But also Tanahashi loves Kamen Rider. Most of his special attires for the big shows of the year have been Kamen Rider based, and he was in the music video for the opening theme song, because Kamen Rider's so big in Japan that the opening theme song is a released track.
Right.
That,
Okay.
That makes the Billboard charts there, and he was in the music video for that. So there are a lot of links, especially in Japan, between Tokusatsu, Kamen Rider specifically, and Puro Wrestle.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. For those of you listening in the future or watching the show who don't know what Tokusatsu is, it's sort of normally live action based Japanese TV shows, normally with a focus on sort of fantasy or sci-fi or horror genres, and usually involving some sort of hero fighting off evil in some sort of form. I think it's something you don't really get. You can't really grasp how huge it is overseas as a genre, as a passion for the people who live over there. But yeah, if you were introducing somebody to Tokusatsu for the first time, Jez, what would your first recommendation be? What would be the thing that you think they would enjoy the most as a noob, if you will?
It would definitely be Kamen Rider.
Definitely.
That's the most accessible for a Western audience. The problem with Tokusatsu is the closest thing that we have to it in the West is Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And I think Power Rangers is Marmite. You either love Power Rangers or you hate it. And if you hate it, you hate the very idea of it and everything that it stands for, I think. But once you've got over that initial stigma of, oh, it's just Power Rangers in Japan, it has the more has the more adult themes. It's more accessible to an older audience rather than just brightly colored heroes punch a rubber suited monster and then they grow a bit and then they do it again. Some of the storylines in Kamen Rider are super dark. Some of the most dark and twisted things that I've seen on television in any country. I obviously love it, and I think there's a lot of accessibility in Kamen Rider if somebody wanted to give it a go.
I think there's a misunderstanding in Western media behind certain forms of media and of brightly coloured entertainment. So Tokusatsu turning into Power Rangers, well, that's obviously for kids because it's too bright and colourful and spandexy. Anime, well, that's a cartoon, so that's for kids because it's brightly coloured and there can't possibly be any sort of deep thinking. The current best thing to exemplify for this, if you take Squid Game, which has taken Netflix by storm over the last week,
recently. Yep.
A lot of people into their filmography online, their filmmaking, have said, "Oh, I love how bright all of this is." And then if you go to the West, it's like, well, automatically something like this would be presumed to be for a younger audience when that's not the purpose of the show. So
yeah. It's interesting. I've been watching Squid Game before anybody started talking about it, and then it just suddenly exploded as I was watching episode 2, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But it's meant that I've been able to talk to people about shows like Alice in Borderland, for example, which is also on Netflix, which came out last year and is getting a second season. And it just opened up a whole world of things that I feel like, and I feel like that's something that I love to introduce to people, is that culture from Japan and that kind of stuff.
When Andrew asked you what's the best way, when you were saying that the closest example we have to Tokusatsu in the West is Power Rangers, I was really disappointed you didn't say VR Troopers.
VR Troopers. I knew.
Well, I'm in the massive minority of people that enjoyed VR Troopers.
Yes!
And still enjoy it to this day.
Good. Glad to hear it. I mean, Tokusatsu extends further than that sometimes with I mean, even to sort of Godzilla and your kaiju films, that kind of thing as well. And that's something that's been huge and personally in my life and Michelle's as well, my other half. We enjoy a lot of that, and we introduce it to our son as well, which is great. So it's I mean, with like Pacific Rim and stuff over the last few years, again, that's been brought forward into the sort of zeitgeist as well, I think, which is really, really great. Nice. Obviously, you sell the toys, you sell the collectibles. Is there one specific item that you own that you prize above any other? Is there something that you love more than anything else that you would never get rid of?
Personal stash.
If my wife is watching, yes, there is only one.
It's her.
But no, that I have many things, and I covet a lot of them a great deal. I collect any of the dinosaur-based Power Ranger and Super Sentai things. So back to the Mighty Morphin original stuff, and then anything that's come since that. So anything dinosaur related and Power Rangers related, that's one little collection I've got.
Very nice.
And more recently, for my sins, they've brought out very expensive adult wearable editions of the belts from Kamen Rider and all of the accessories and things that come with it.
I've seen this recently.
And yeah, I have a few of those that are in my collection and are only touched with like a long stick that's just got a piece of fluff on the end to make sure that I don't devalue it in any way.
I need to go and get my Time Force Morpher for coming to work this weekend. I've just remembered.
You wore that for so many weeks when you first got it. You were so happy.
Yeah, it works.
It made me
Gotta ask then. I won't put Mighty Morphin in it because I know that's going to be an obvious answer. But Dino Thunder or Dino Charge? If we're talking Power Rangers based on dinosaurs.
Yeah, Dino Thunder without a doubt. But if we were talking the Japanese counterpart, Abaranger or Kyoruger, would be the other way around.
Right. Okay. Any particular reason for that? I know the Ranger stuff. I could talk to you about Ranger stuff for at least an hour, but I don't pretend to know anywhere near enough about Super Sentais. So why would it flip for you the other way around?
Because in Kyoruger, their morphing dance is it's a dance. They put the little machine, the little battery into the morpher, and then they do a little elaborate dance before changing into their costumes, while their enemy just stands there observing them dance and spin around, and it's just utterly ridiculous in the most fantastic way.
Awesome,
love it. Sam, I think you had a question about wrestling.
I don't know if you want to. I mean, I have been taking over a lot of these questions.
No, I'm totally happy.
We do have. I was going to tie in the tokusatsu into the wrestling.
I know I feel you going that way. I'm sorry.
Your most popular episode of the main roster on your YouTube channel, also at Jez Show, if you want to go and check out all of his previous broadcasts. Your most popular video is from Survivor Series 2020, the retirement of The Undertaker. You will have no reason to know this, but Survivor Series 2020 was also the beginning of the R-CADE Wrestling Club. It was the first pay-per-view that we watched live as a group. And we've made the decision that we're going to do our first ever R-CADE Wrestling Rumblies, which is like our awards for our wrestling club.
I'm gonna step in and be Nadia on this one. It does sound like a cereal. I'm so sorry, but it does sound like a cereal.
It's they're all very stupid. Some of them are very, very stupid, but some of them are far more simple. We will be crowning our Rumblies winners before Survivor Series of this year. But just to ask you, I will ask you 3 wrestling questions about the last 10 months and see whatever comes into your head. What's the best wrestling match you've seen in the last 10
months?
Basically since Survivor Series.
Oh, I can't do it's just before Survivor Series. Can I do that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go.
The Roman Reigns Jey Uso match at Hell in a Cell. That was a particularly good one. I've enjoyed everything that Roman Reigns has done since coming back from his little COVID break.
I think even people who are heavy detractors of WWE will still say that he is by far the best thing the company has got going at the moment. They've put a lot of stock into what he's got going on, and the early stuff with both Uso brothers definitely captivated the imagination of the realism of that family dynamic. So that's a good choice.
Have you got time for a quick tangent?
Yeah, absolutely. Of
course.
So, I mean, I shouldn't have volunteered that. It's Andrew's show, but yeah, absolutely.
Of course. Absolutely.
Speaking of Roman Reigns and going back to talking about breaking my leg and that changing everything, at that time, it was the Undertaker Roman Reigns match in which Roman Reigns beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and everybody, including me, most especially me, lost their minds. And at that point, I was just starting out in wrestling journalism. I was writing for a company that doesn't exist anymore called Real Sport. And I wrote a piece suggesting that as a wrestling community, we boycott Roman Reigns until they turn him heel.
Oh, you caused this.
I started a campaign on Twitter called #BoycottReigns. It was picked up by Vince Russo, who invited me on his podcast and brought me on there to roast me for being a massive mark and saying that I should.
Wait, hold on. Just to clarify this, Vince Russo called you a massive mark.
No,
the man
he didn't.
Who gave himself a world title belt.
No, he didn't. To his credit, that was the purpose of bringing me on, I'm sure, was to roast me. But once he actually understood where I was coming from and listened to my argument, he couldn't do it anymore. He thought I was just some dumb mark that was just shouting at clouds at the sky, to throw that reference back in there again. But once I actually once he realized that I was talking a little bit of sense and that Roman Reigns turning heel would be the best thing for him and the company, he kind of listened. So I did that in 2017. And then all of a sudden, this last year of Roman Reigns turning heel and being the best thing to happen to WWE in a very long time, I'm sitting up here smug and validated that they should have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, as a wrestling journalist, TM, remind me to send you a copy of this magazine I'm helping out with. Sure. I've realised this, by the way. I've realised, and you might understand where I'm coming from with this. With my name, Sam Roberts, I have almost zero chance of making it in wrestling journalism. Mm-hmm. The very simple fact there's already a much more famous Sam Roberts involved with wrestling journalism.
Just need a pseudonym.
I just need a pseudonym.
You do. I think you've already got one.
Pen name.
Yeah.
There's two other questions related to this Rumblies thing. So we asked best match, Roman versus Jay from Hell in a Cell. Best wrestler of the last since Survivor Series. Is it as simple as Roman Reigns again?
Wrestler or superstar?
Well,
the difference.
Well, a performer in a ring.
Roman Reigns, then, without doubt.
Okay, why would you personally make that distinction?
I just feel like there's always going to be a section of the audience that is not behind Roman Reigns, whether he's face or heel, because of the way he looks. You know, he's just this sexy beast Adonis kind of guy, and that's always going to rub a large section of the predominantly male wrestling audience the wrong way, who can never aspire to be anything like him. He's not an everyman. And so to come back into the company with all the troubles that he had with his leukemia coming back, and then having to stay away from the company for his own safety with COVID and all of that kind of concern, to come back and go on the dominant run that he has just astounds me. He is much, much better on the mic as a heel. He has that, and it was really interesting them coming back into arenas with the crowd, because he has that crowd in the palm of his hand. Even though he is the most hated character in the company, he could still bring them to their feet and make them cheer if he wanted to, just by throwing a few little lines out there. He has total control over that audience. He has total dominance over everybody that he faces from a story point of view. He's one of the few wrestlers in the last 20 years even that you can look at and say, this guy is pretty much untouchable right now. There's no reason to take the championship belt off him. There is nobody credible to beat him. And you don't often get that, especially in modern WWE, where you could take the belt off anyone and put it on anyone, and it would be much of a muchness. You're just going to sell some t-shirts for a small period and then move on to the next person. But
your distinction between sports entertainer and wrestler, would that imply that you think there's someone who's had better performances in wrestling matches, more consistent performances in wrestling matches in the last year?
Yes, right, yes, okay. because it's a different it's a different feel.
It's a different set of skills. They are different slices of the same pie, but they all matter in the end. Roman is the best overall, in your opinion.
Yes.
You don't need to go into detail with this one because I am conscious of time. But if I was just saying who's had the best matches overall, who's been the most consistent, who's your answer for that?
I would, in WWE, I would put that on either Seth Rollins or Cesaro.
Okay.
I would probably lean more towards Seth Rollins because they've kept him more relevant and put him against more high-level opponents. But Cesaro's phenomenal. He'll always be phenomenal and is massively underrated in everything.
Excellent. One last wrestling question, and apologies for the long wrestling tangent. Best pay-per-view since Survivor Series of last year? Just to stoke the fire. It doesn't need to be a WWE pay-per-view, by the way.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I can't answer that, I'm afraid. They've been much of a muchness. I've been pretty disappointed in WWE for the last year. I would probably, if I had to answer it, I would say WrestleMania, because having the crowd back and the feeling of things slowly returning to normal was a big deal for me.
Yeah, fair. Okay. That definitely on our short list currently for these awards, night one of WrestleMania is definitely something I'm going to be pushing for because of the main event, Bianca versus Becky. Bianca versus
Sasha
Banks.
Sasha
yeah,
Banks.
There's too many B's. Bianca versus Banks. But also Seth versus Cesaro both being on night one is a huge, huge thing. And also probably because I left the room for Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. So, but wrestling, as we've already discussed, wrestling, I was about to say Tonkatsu. Tokusatsu and so many other things you're involved in. You're also involved in F1. We had your co-host Duff Valley complaining that you're not talking really excitedly about F1. So Andrew does have a final question for you regarding.
I mean, Sam is the wrestling aficionado. I follow Formula One with a passion. A journalist. Sorry. I was making up words again. Sorry. You're obviously staying on sports. You're a huge I don't know how huge, but you're an F1 fan as well, Jez. So what's your take, just briefly, on the season so far? Everyone keeps like bigging up really massive the rivalry between Hamilton and Verstappen. What's your take on the year so far?
It's been a good year. It's been a really good year, actually. F1 is an interesting sport for me. It's something that I was into as a child with my dad, and then I lost interest in it for a while. And then when I went to university, I was brought back into it by one of my co-hosts on the F1 show, Research One. Watched it with him, and then I lost interest again for a little while because it just became the Hamilton show, and he would win every race. Yeah, exactly. It would just be him and somebody else in the front, whoever was his teammate at the time. Yeah. And there wouldn't be any look-in from anyone else, and it would just be a procession around the track, and there was no entertainment value in it whatsoever. Came back into it last year to do the F1 Racing show with Reese and Duff, and I have consistently enjoyed it more and more and more since it's come along. I think this year has been particularly interesting because it's not just a Mercedes show, it's not just the Red Bull show. And I'm not a Hamilton fan. I'm not even a Max Verstappen fan anymore, really. Especially not since that whole first incident with Lewis and all of the pissing and moaning that he and Red Bull did. I've lost a lot of respect for Verstappen and the Red Bull team. So it's been enjoyable for me to see more consistent quality racing and overtaking and not being a procession, and also to see a lot of these young guys coming through, your Lando Norris's, your George Russells, and the younger teams, and seeing them develop and come up, and even with some veterans who like Vettel, who I hated with a passion.
Really?
15 years ago. But now I love the guy. I think he's fantastic.
When he was winning like championship after championship, yeah, there was like I was always a Weber fan at that point, and I was like, right, Vettel, just stop, will you? And yeah, it's not been until the last couple of years since he left Ferrari really that he sort of went and I've got a new respect for him.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and he's been fantastic with Aston Martin so far. So fingers crossed they do well. I agree. Lando Norris, all the young guys coming through, Charles Leclerc, and George Russell moving up to Mercedes next year is going to be an interesting dynamic, I think, in the team. But yeah, no, the last 2 years have been a big change, and it's been really, really good. And then there's more change coming next season. I think looking forward to next season is going to be fantastic. Yeah. What are your thoughts on? I mean, because it's obviously they're the Americans have come in. You know, they've pumped a lot of money into it, and they're trying to do more stuff. And they're obviously changing the aerodynamic system moving into next year, which can hopefully, if it works, can only make the racing better, which is what I think has been missing for the last. God, since the hybrid era came in, basically, it's just been the Mercedes show. So, yeah, I mean, if you had to pick one driver to tell everyone to keep a lookout for next year, who would it be? Me personally, it'd be Lando. I think Lando's on the up, and there's nothing that's going to stop him if McLaren keep going the way they're going. But who would you recommend as the one to watch?
Yeah, I agree on Lando. I think that having George Russell on the same team as Lewis Hamilton is going to be a big deal. We got a little taste of it at the end of last season.
We did.
And we've had a very big taste of what it looks like to be Valtteri Bottas and have to be subservient to Lewis Hamilton. And I'm not sure that George Russell, although he's proven very much that he is a team player this year, big time, when you're willing to take second fiddle to Nicholas Latifi, then you know he's a stand-up guy. But I'm interested to see how much the competition builds between them, and whether Lewis won't be the golden child of Mercedes anymore, and they start to shift towards Lewis as a mentor to George, and George is the guy.
The one that then comes up through that off of the back of Hamilton. Yeah, possibly. I think Hamilton is obviously coming to the end. He's same age as me. He's mid to late 30s. Obviously, he's now 7 championships so far. No, is it 6 or 7? I've lost count because I've been so bloody many. Finally got his 100th race win at the weekend there. But yeah, next year's going to be interesting. There's a small part of me that really wants Ferrari to come back strong moving into next year. So I'm hopeful for that. And Charles and Carlos are a great team up as well. So fingers crossed for them.
So you just did what I did on the F1 Racing Show, and that's just throw a question out into the ether and then wait for my technical advisor, Duff Valley, to come back with the answer. And he's done so in the chat. The answer is 7 championships.
7. Thank you, Duff. Thank you.
I don't have the technical knowledge. That's what those guys are there for.
Yeah.
I'm just there to ask questions and generally stir up conversation.
Nice. Okay, let's round this off the way we always round off our little spotlights with some quick fire questions. Jez, are you ready? It's not painful. It's going to be nice and simple. I'm going to keep it quick. Just answer as fast as you can without thinking, hopefully. Okay. Sam's just grinning away, ready for this. Here we go.
It was the freeze without thinking popped me, I'll be honest.
Okay, what was the last film you saw in the cinema?
The Pikachu detective movie, whatever that was called.
Nice.
Detective Pikachu. Yeah. You got the words slightly. It's fine. Pikachu Karma, I believe.
You can't say don't think and then expect quality content.
That's fine. Pizza Hut or Domino's?
Pizza Hut.
Nice. Favorite Power Rangers theme song?
The original. Go Power Rangers.
Go. That's the beam. The best Super Bowl match you've ever seen?
Super Bowl 41, the Giants and the Patriots.
Nice. Who would you rather have a beer with, Toto Wolff or Christian Horner?
Toto Wolff now, actually.
Nice. Jelly beans or jelly babies?
Jelly babies.
Jelly babies. Okay, not the right answer, but thank you. Your dream holiday destination?
Japan.
Of course, same as me. And finally, how do you make a cup of tea? I.e., what is the correct order of items for the tea.
Put the tea bag in the cup, then you place the hot water into it. You leave the tea bag to strain for a little while. Then you put the milk in on top, strain the tea bag. Done.
Okay, I'll let that one pass. That's fine.
I'd like to clarify with both of you, what do you do with the tea bag afterwards?
Oh, I have a small, or Michelle and I have a small dish. It's the shape of a teapot. So that's where we leave our tea bags to cool, and then we put them in the food recycling.
Straight in the food caddy without any kind of forethought.
But the heat, and you're nice. Sam, what do you do with yours? Since you're asking.
I don't drink tea.
You don't drink tea. That's right. You don't drink.
I don't drink tea either. I just make it for other people.
When I stay at people's houses who do drink tea, I just bin the tea bags after they've been there for 3 days. Sorry. No reason I asked you the question.
Jez, that was the quick fire questions. Thank you very much. We've learned so much about you. It's been wonderful. And now we're going to move on to this. I'm hoping I did press the right button. Okay, good. This is yesterday's news, ladies and gentlemen. This is the segment of the show where we look back on a memorable date from the past, usually around about where we are on the calendar. And for this week I've got the release of, and I thought it'd be quite appropriate, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo, which was released in September of 1994. Here you go. This is what it looks like. Did either of you guys get this when it? Well, Sam, you weren't alive. Sorry.
What are you asking me for?
Jez, did you get this when it
I know I exude 90s, but I am not from them.
Not the Nintendo version, no. Mega Drive, I played.
Oh, you had the Mega Drive variation. I see. Sam, of course, just to verify for everybody, was born in 1999. And therefore,
basically 2000 in all honesty.
Yeah, was after the release of this game. This is a bit of an interesting. I'm going to turn it down while I talk. Actually, sorry, it's very loud, but you guys can't hear it. Power Rangers was a weird one. So this came out halfway between, I think it was halfway through season 2 of the television show. So they'd already sort of established characters. They'd already sort of moved on with the storyline. For example. I'm trying to remember.
wow.
Tommy had already. His name just disappeared from my head. He had already appeared, and I think he was in the process of changing from Green Ranger to White Ranger at that point. I think. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, guys. That's season 2. I think.
You are.
That would be season 2. Yeah,
that's season 2. Cool. But this game was released while that was happening, so you still had the original 5 Rangers. And the SNES version was basically a Streets of Rage clone. So it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up, but it was only single-player, I believe, if I remember rightly. I think it was 2-player on the screen.
I think that's a fair representation of putties, in all honesty. One punch, dead. One punch, dead.
Done. One punch. Oh, purple putty, throw.
Oh, it came back! Did you see how he snuck onto the screen like a back?
But it was an interesting one because this was the Super Nintendo release. The Mega Drive release was different. From my research, at least, I think it was a fighting game, wasn't it? It was just a one-on-one Street Fighter.
Yeah, it was more like a Street Fighter type thing. Yeah,
it was a Street Fighter-esque one-on-one battle game, which you could use the Zords in as well, if I remember rightly as well.
Yeah.
I think I've got a video of that.
Which the movie game, which came out on the Mega Drive, was more similar to this than
that is correct. That was 95, I think. That one came out, the movie-based one. The interesting thing was the Game Boy got a release of this, which was a pared down version, obviously in monochrome, and but it was very similar to the SNES release. And the Game Gear obviously got a pared down version of the Mega Drive release or Genesis release, which was the fighting game. And there was a 5th version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that was released in 94, 95, and that was for the Mega CD, and I really want to find it. I think I prepared the video for that as well, so if I fire this off for a second, and
while you do,
I
don't know. I'll ask Jez a random Power Rangers related question. Because originally on this list of questions we were going to ask you, I had a very in-depth one about your favorite Power Rangers team. But I'll just very simply ask you, who's your favorite 6th Ranger?
Yeah,
I feel like I've just asked that, and I already know that there's no obvious answer to it.
I'm afraid, yeah, it's the
question I could
very
ask somebody.
obvious on the note. Do you want my second favorite instead?
Yeah, give me your second
more
favorite Sixth
interesting,
Ranger that isn't the guy who's been in every series ever and is the most famous Power Ranger of all time. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Never mind. I'll leave my hat.
My second favorite Sixth Ranger is not a Sixth Ranger, but it is the extra Ranger of the series, so it's considered a sixth, and that's the white Dino Thunder Ranger from Power Rangers Dino Thunder.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The
very edgy boy that is. I've forgotten his name as well, but I know.
Trent Fernandez.
Thank you. I was expecting both names. Well, I feel very inadequate yet again. This is good.
Did you guys have you ever seen the Mega CD or Sega CD version of the game? It's
I've never seen a CD.
So the Sega CD was famous as a failure for one thing, but then secondary it was the most famous for obviously better audio with CDs. But what you found a lot of the games were doing was just like a FMV games, so full motion video. And most of them weren't even proper games. They were just sort of quick time events. I think Road Avengers, the one that we've got in arcade to play, where you just have to press the right button at the right time as you're prompted on the screen. There's not really much else to it. So that I'm going to show you the Power Rangers one, and it is an experience because you'll see it is beautiful and I love it. I really want to get a copy of this because it's so good. And the CD audio quality really comes through as well.
What? Definitely the Mega Drive one, but that does entirely come with hindsight. And maybe I'd be like, this one's got the real characters. I'd pick the Mega CD.
I like in hindsight, I would have this, but I wouldn't enjoy it when I got it. But like years later, it would hold a special place in my heart, I think. So I would have to say the Mega CD one because I think
the
it's
health
just
bar's
amazing.
changed.
It's amazing. It says Rangers now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. There you go. Just
all I want.
Is there a Time Force game? There is.
Watch me play it in store and suck at it.
That's right. We have it on PS2. That's right. Yeah.
PS1.
Right. Oh, was it PS1? Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies.
And PC.
Yeah.
What was the Game Boy one I've got? Oh wait, I've got a
Lightspeed Rescue had a Game Boy game.
No, I actually have Time Force on the Game Boy Color here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's a game, but I've not tried that one out.
The label's missing though, so I need
talked
to
about it many times. I want a free roam Power Rangers game where you can be your regular teenage self and then have to transform to complete tasks. And they were going to make a game like that, and then Saban went, "We don't have money," and they went, "Okay." And then
apparently, Hasbro are working on a new Power Rangers video game.
Well,
that's
given how much I hated the
world
last one,
immersive thing. So,
ooh, okay, never mind. I take back what I was about to say. Yes, I can't wait. I'm overjoyed.
Right. Let's move on to our final segment of the day. This one is a beaut. Sam, I've recycled your intro.
Thank you. Thank you.
My daughter, Shirley, over there. She's perfect for you. Very little facial hair. Aggravation's taken 20 years off my life, and my husband, Bernie, left me for a younger wife.
I'll just cut it there. It's just nice and short, if that's okay.
That's fine. No, I just, so we can use more clips from Glow, I'm happy to do anyway.
Always a good thing. Always a good thing. So this is Agony Bants. Sam, can you briefly explain?
Yeah, because we don't have time for me to non-briefly explain. This is Agony Bants. I take something from Am I the Asshole on Reddit, and we tell the people if they are or not, and also try and give them some sort of advice. If you want to see Jez's version of this, you can. Where can they see that, Jez?
Yeah, we do a similar segment, a bit more on the nose, called "Am I the Arsehole?" Every Friday night on Don't Get Me Started.
Don't Get Me Started, yeah.
I'll be honest and say this did used to start as me going through actual Agony Ant letters that I could find online and taking the worst ones, but they got kind of sad after a while.
They were very depressing.
Shockingly, these are a little bit more entertaining. So
yeah. Shall I do my usual read? I'll do my usual reading.
You can read
as fast
as
possible. Here we go. Okay.
See my doily art.
My in-laws are big food people and take offense quickly when people do not like their food or do not like certain elements. I despise mushrooms. The first time I had dinner with them, I bypassed all the mushrooms on my plate. They took notice asked me about them, and when I told them, they made sure the next time the mushroom could not be bypassed. It became a thing where they would not go out of their... Sorry, it became a thing where they would go out of their way to serve mushrooms whenever I was around or cover things in a mushroom sauce. I figured it would get better, especially with my husband calling them out over the pettiness. But nah. They then started getting more demanding of what we cook for them when we host and serving things they know I don't like. I decided this is dumb, and I now cook what I feel like, and they can eat it or leave it. No catering to their tastes involved. They've said I'm turning down perfectly good dinner requests and all that. They are making me out to be the bad guy. My husband told them they're acting like kids. Am I the a-hole?
I feel like this is one of those things of like an in-laws like little teasing joke, but then the in-laws been told it's not that funny, and they've got no, it's really funny. You're being a child,
Yes.
instead of acting like an actual adult and going, "Oh, I'm really sorry if we upset you or made you not feel comfortable in our presence. We will change our behavior."
Except that bit hasn't happened.
Yeah, exactly. That hasn't happened. Instead, what's happened is that they served you a raw mushroom and said, "This is dinner."
They've doubled down on the mushrooms.
Exactly. They've double dashed on the mushrooms.
Double dashed.
Tying it back in.
Nice.
Divorce your in-laws. Oh, that music.
Sorry, Sam. That was me trying to get the music by working, but the original source failed, so I had to reinstate it, and it went back in at 60% volume. My apologies.
Quite loud.
If you don't like food, you don't like food. I mean, I come from obviously a culture where turning down food is a grave mistake. My mum would karate chop you if you didn't eat the food that was put in front of you, or at least I think my mum was a bit more lenient with me. So at least if you tried it and then said you didn't like it, you got a pass. But I know her father, my granddad, was not of that ilk. And if you didn't eat your food, you would be in the bad books for quite a long time. I personally side with my mum. If at least as long as you try it and you show that you don't like it, then fine. Move on. Stop being so petty. The person that wrote this is not the asshole. The people who are forcing mushroom down other people's throats are the assholes.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a point where what difference does it make if she does pick out the mushrooms? Like, they're not being forced to change what they cook. They don't have to cater to any special dietary needs that she has. She just picks them out and puts them to the side with very little fuss. Just let it be, man.
Yeah. Well, I think, do you know what? I credit to commitment to the bit to every week be like, we had a new thing with mushrooms in it, Candice. The more mushrooms, the better. Mushroom risotto, where the risotto is the mushroom and the mushroom is the rice. Excellent. Double the mushrooms in that. There's mushroom ice cream, incredible. You've done it again.
I'd love it if it came to Christmas time and you're trying to think of Christmas gifts and you just get a mushroom cookbook and that's the present you pass on.
Very quick tangent. My mum gave my dad chocolate, mushrooms? Like not actual mushrooms, but mushroom-shaped chocolates covered in coconut one year for Christmas.
Okay.
And he found it very funny, and I didn't understand the reference. And it was because she'd spent their entire relationship up until that point thinking my dad didn't like mushrooms, but he actually loved mushrooms. And so she would continuously not make him things with mushrooms, only for him to go like, "Why? Like, I really like mushrooms." And she was like, "No, you don't." And so now it's a thing with them. So my parents are the opposite of these terrible in-laws, which could also just be a sign that they don't like this partner for their son. So just consider that element as well.
Anyway,
but that was Agony Bants.
That was a brief Agony Bants. That's the fastest Agony Bants I think I've ever done. What did I just do to my screen? I pressed the button. I'll press it again. There we go. That's fine. Yeah, thank you guys so much. That was a fantastic show. Jez, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
For the benefit of those in the future and those in the stream at the moment, where can we find everything you do?
Okay. How long is this show?
All right, we've got time.
So the main place you can find me is on Twitch at the Jez Show, twitch.tv/the Jez Show. The sports stuff I do goes out to various other places. On Twitch, it's at Jez Show Sports. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/the Jez Show, youtube.com/the Jez Show, Twitter, same thing. And you can also, if you'd like to look at Japanese toys and spend too much money on them, you can go to tokutoystore.com.
Actually, you can spend an appropriate amount of type of money on them.
Yes, indeed.
I'm trying to help you with marketing.
Magic, thank you so much. I love that you've got everything the Jez Show. It's really difficult when you're a content creator to keep that.
Not Instagram though. Some
it's Instagram.
lovely person has taken that one. That is the Jez Show _IG, because I couldn't think of anything better to do with that.
That's fair. That's fair.
I may be spending a lot of money in your store soon.
I thoroughly endorse this idea and/or product.
I need another Power Ranger figure. I've got one on my wall. Time Force Red. I need the Red Psycho Ranger. I've been trying. I know at some point the Red Psycho Ranger existed as a single. Here we go.
Reveal.
Well, so I know that the only one I actively really want is the red. I know that they did it as a single, but that was like years ago. So I might be grabbing one of these from you. Although that's
unfortunately, you're just gonna have to buy this. I'm afraid.
I know. I know.
Sorry to break it to you. It's nothing I can do.
I know. It's fine. The pink one's cool as well, I guess. The first character to kill a Power Ranger on screen. So that's a pretty cool achievement.
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect, guys. Thank you for a lovely show. It's been a treat. If you want to watch again, or if you missed any of the show live, then you can catch us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/R-CADE Glasgow. You can also listen in to the show if you are that way inclined via Spotify. Just search for the Super R-CADE Show. It's the easiest way to do it. I don't actually have an URL for that. And of course, join us next week as I'm joined by, I think, Lewis. Sam's getting a bye, and we'll be joined by Dave Cook from Kiltopia, who's we're a big fan of Kiltopia. If you've not checked out the graphic novels, then you should. And if you want to learn more about Dave, then find us here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/R-CADE Glasgow at 7 p.m. next Thursday.
I will very quickly say, Kara Stubb, how dare you leave this information until the very end? If you want to know what information, you need to join us live. And I'll also add one last little plug for Jez. You can catch him at this exact time tomorrow.
It's true. You can. But don't get me started. Featuring Am I the Arsehole?
There we go.
Yeah. I'll just quickly say, Karis is my wife.
Oh!
And that's how she was given the opportunity to work out in the gym with Jason Thorne, Time Force Red.
Right, okay.
Nice.
I presume this was just where she happened to go to the gym.
just gravitates towards. Nice. Guys, thank you very much, and we will see you guys later on. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Deuces.